Hi, boys and girls. Happy Monday. Welcome back. So, I hope you guys had a really good weekend. I hope that you had some time to relax and unwind after our week last week. And I'm really excited for this question, for our essential question this week, because I think it has a lot to do with, you know, what's going on right now. So, the essential question is, why is it important to keep a record of the past? And we've kind of talked about this before when we were talking about why is it important that we learn history? Why do we keep talking about history? Why do we keep talking about it? And so when we say why is it important to keep a record, that basically means why is it important that people write things down about the past or when they're going through it? And why do people keep diaries and stuff like that? So today during our story, we're actually going to have the chance to read a diary, um, and to see why it is so important for people to keep records and, writings from the past. We'll get started. So that's our essential question. We'll get started with our vocabulary now, and then this will be the story that we're reading. So our first word is depict. So this painting depicts an important moment in our nation's history. Remember, you can pause the video to take some think time before I move on, because I just keep going. So depicts means to show in pictures or words. So this picture here, what does it show us? That's what depicts means. The synonym for depicts would be show, right? What does it show us in this painting about what's happening? The next word is detested. Detested. My little sister has always detested taking medicine. Does she look excited or happy to take it? No. So what do you think detested can mean? Detested means to dislike or hate something very much, right? So you just cannot stand it. So what is an antonym? Remember the opposite for detested. If detested means to hate something, what is the opposite of hate? The next word is discarded. Discarded. The discarded crumpled up paper lay around the trash can. What do we put in trash cans? Things that we're trying to what? Things we're trying to throw away. So discarded means to throw away. What is something that you have discarded? The next word is eldest. I am the eldest of 4 children. Eldest. I, Salvers, is the eldest of 3 children. Eldest means the one who was born first or the oldest. So what is the opposite of eldest? An antonym. If eldest means oldest, then what an opposite be? Next is ignored. The dog sled team ignored the command to stop and kept on running. Ignored means having not paid attention to someone or something. That means when someone tells you something and you choose not to listen to it, right? And sometimes our moms or anyone tells us if someone says something mean, just ignore them. Don't pay attention to what they're saying, right? And then describe a time when you ignored something. Or when my brother is bothering me, I just ignore him. Next is obedience. Obedience. The dog had no obedience training and did not obey his owner's commands. Obedience is the act of following instructions or doing what someone else says to do. So a lot of times you hear the saying, obey your parents, right? That means you need to listen to what your parents are asking you or what they're telling you to do, right? So obedience is the act of doing that. Refuge. Refuge. The people took refuge in the bus shelter during the rainstorm. Refuge. A refuge is a shelter or protection from danger or trouble. So, what place do you think of as a refuge? Where do you feel safe and protected? For some of you, it may be school. For some of you, it may be home. Some of you take refuge in the gym or like going to do karate or working out, right? It's different places for everyone. Treacherous. The ice and wet snow made the sidewalks treacherous to walk on. Treacherous means full of danger or hazardous. So not safe, right? And that's pretty much it for our vocabulary words. Me. Please study your vocabulary words. We will be having a vocab Kahoot, and I'm also assigning your turn pages, just for you to be able to review like the day before the Kahoot or the day of the Kahoot, just to help you guys out. But anyways, so here's our story. It's called Freedom at Fort Moose, and it's historical fiction. So we've already talked about historical fiction quite a lot. Basically, we know that historical fiction is based on true events, but maybe the characters aren't real. They aren't. Some of them are, some aren't. And then we are going to focus on our essential question. Why is it important to keep a record of the past? Read how a boy uses a diary to tell about his life of freedom in a new place. So I'm excited. I love history. So we'll get started. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And I'll move this. Okay, so by September of 1754, 12-year-old Lucius Jackson and his family had been living at Fort Moose in St. Augustine, Florida for a year. They were part of a group who had escaped from a plantation in South Carolina. Sorry. They had heard that Fort Moose was a place of refuge for runaways. Over the years, many people were willing to endure the treacherous journey there in return for the promise of freedom. During his time at Fort Moose, Lucius kept a diary to record what happened. 17th September 1754. So now we're reading his diary. It has been raining for more than a week now. This weather reminds me of my days learning to read and write back in Charleston. When the rains came, we couldn't work in the fields, and we were forced to stay in the cabins. We knew that Mr. Sollacombe, the landowner, detested getting his boots wet, so he rarely came to check on us. He thought that all we knew were work and obedience. Miss Celia took a great risk writing letters and words on the dirt floor of the cabin for us children to learn. She said that, as the eldest member in our cabin, it was a risk she was willing to take. Learning to read was easy for me because I was so happy to learn how to turn letters into words and words into ideas. I believe that reading is a gift that cannot be measured. Mr. Samuel Cantor believes this too. He is a farmer who lives near us and who gave me this fine diary. He said, "You are doing a good thing, Lucius. In years to come, people can read about this place and understand what we have risked to gain our freedom." So during this time, people weren't allowed to have education. If they were seen reading or writing, they would get punished, and it made it really hard for people. Now, I'm not going to tell you guys like what time period this is yet. I want to see if we read a little bit more, if you guys can think about it. Next is 8th October 1754. Last night, I got to go on patrol with my father. My duty involved walking along the wall of the fort with him, looking and listening for anything unusual. It has been a while since we came under attack, but we cannot let down our guard. We also listen for any people who may be coming here to seek freedom. as we did about 1 year ago. While on patrol, I thought about the night my family came to Fort Moose and how scared but hopeful all of us felt as we entered through the big heavy gates. I must stop writing now, as it is my turn today to help gather palm fronds which we lay out in the sun to dry. Once they are dried, they can be used to repair older huts and to build new ones. Each week, more people come to the fort. Our priest, Father de las Casas, keeps the records, and he tells us that there are almost 100 people now. So people are running away from somewhere where they have to work, they can't be educated, um, they basically don't have any rights. So what time do you guys think this is? And you can pause to think, but this is during slavery, right? So during slavery, if a slave, like I said, was caught learning or reading or writing, they would get punished very, very badly. And even worse if they were caught running away. So it took a lot for the Jackson family to leave and to run away and to seek freedom, right? And we're learning now about, how they feel about being in this new place, but also what it feels like to be free from Lucius's point of view. So that's really important. So now it's the 26th of October, 1754. Last week, a new family arrived all the way from Virginia, and like everyone else, they arrived almost starved and weak beyond belief. My mother helped the family by giving them clean clothes to replace the ones they had been wearing, and their old ones were quickly discarded. The day after they arrived, I tried to talk to the boy who was about my age, but he ignored me. The next day, I tried again to speak to the boy whose name is Will. I showed him this diary and explained that it depicts as accurately as possible our life at Fort Sorry, I've been saying Fort Moose, it's Fort Mose. And the people who come here. We seemed surprised and asked, "You know how to read and write?" Yes, I told him. He looked at me without speaking, but I could see a question in his eyes. "Do you want to learn?" I asked him. "Is it not dangerous?" he asked quietly, looking around to see if anyone could hear us. I smiled, remembering how long it took me to understand freedom and what it meant. "Will," I said to my new friend, "here at Fort Mose you are free to learn, and I am free to teach you." We began our lessons right away. So, what did we learn from the diaries of Lucius Jackson? And like I said, what important time in history does this diary teach us about? What do we learn about their lives? And even at the end, how Will is scared to learn, but how Lucius tells him it's okay, you're free now. And so that's something I want you to think about in your writing for today or on Skies based on this story. I ask you, I say there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. The protests are still happening. Um, COVID-19, coronavirus is still happening, right? We haven't been in school for a while. A lot of things have changed. And I want you to write a diary entry, kind of like what Lucius does here, telling about your experience during that time, right? So my experience, what I'm seeing, how I'm reacting to things, how things look to me, how things sound to me is going to be way different because I'm older than you. And it's going to be way different because maybe because we live in different areas, or maybe because we believe different things. So, your writing activity for today is to take the time to think about what's going on around you, and you're going to write a diary entry from 5 to 7 sentences explaining to me what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and how you feel about it. Last week we talked about the protests, and I shared that I was a little scared at first. I was scared about what was happening because I didn't understand it, right? So that's something I would write. I gave you a small example on Skies, so just make sure you follow the link, and there you should be able to pretty much use the example that I gave you to write yours. And you'll just start the entry, Dear Diary. Or you can change it to Dear Journal, whatever you feel more comfortable with. But really think about, what would you want someone to know about what's happening right now? What's something that you think is really important that they should know and that they can learn from? Right? What is something they can learn from you about what's happening right now? You guys are living in a very, very interesting, very special in that all of this is going to be in the history books. And you'll be able to tell your story about how you felt living during this time. That's a pretty special gift. That's it for today. Remember again, study your vocab words. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can message me on Google Classroom or Skies. Google Classroom's usually better though, because I get notified on my phone. But yeah, let me know if there's anything you need. Have a good day, and I will see you guys later.